Hi there, Francis Kong here, and welcome to another episode of Pocket Mentor for FB Live. In our episode for today, we're going to be doing something different. I used to be doing and presenting a lot of leadership and business and economy and personal growth and so forth and so on. And probably those that are being requested, we're going to reserve that for future episodes. But today, we're going to be dealing with a very, very timely and relevant topic called WFH, not the magazine that's associated with it, but it's called work from home or remote work. And you and I are living in strange times. Everywhere I go, I hear people say that we are entering the new normal. Now, I would tend to say that no, we are not yet there. And I'm going to expound on this a little bit. We are still in the process of experimentations, adjustments, and this is why sometimes harsh implementation and rules have to be enforced so that the populace would follow the prescribed rules because of the adjustments. ECQ, enhanced community quarantine, which is a political way of saying lockdown, physical distancing, which our government preferred to call, which is another way of saying social distancing, hygiene, washing of hands properly, alcohol, sanitizers. These are all pertaining to human behaviors and behaviors that have been developed over the years and an entire lifetime. You cannot just expect them to change. But for them to change, you need two things. Number one, you need a determined, prolonged, willful practice so that the new habits would replace the old ones. That's going to take long. And I've had clients and I've had people telling me, I tried it at first, I take exercise for example. You never go to the gym on the first week of January because all the treadmill is going to be full. But on the third week, people are going to change their behaviors and they'll revert back to what they used to do. But the second thing, in order for this to happen, is an emergence of a major crisis that would threaten life and well being or economic loss that would force its hand upon people, forcing them to change. And that's exactly what we are going through right now. This is what's happening. And I've been approached by people saying, Francis, with COVID 19 happening, how would people like you and me change? And how important is change? My response has always been consistent. COVID 19 does not make us realize the importance of change. No, no, no. COVID 19 enforces change upon you and me, whether we like it or not. Now, it is amazing to just see the massive changes that would happen within the span of, a few months between 2019 and 2020. A lot of things have changed. In 2019 and the years before that, I used to say, stay away from negative people. Now we are all afraid we might meet someone who is positive with COVID, right? There was a time when the world was turned upside down. Today, you see the whole thing in reverse. Today, you find old folks, senior citizens, sneaking out of the house, and then their kids yelling at them, stay indoors, dad, stay indoors. Mom, strange. COVID 19 has put an entire economy to a grinding halt, work stoppage. I was just talking to a multi billionaire 2 days ago. He's in his twilight years. He says, Francis, never in all of my life have I ever experienced such an event like this. This is history in the making. Our business and economy has grinded to a sudden stop and nobody has the answer to a question, where do we go from here? I said, Mr. Billionaire, the only consolation I can offer you is that today, everybody in the world, including those who have billionaires in dollars, yours, they're just in pesos. We are all in the same boat. Now, listen to me very carefully. We are all in the same boat, but we do not have the same storms. Some people are going through drizzle, some people are going through stormy seas, some people are mildly there in between, but we're all in the same boat and everybody's being challenged. Take a look at terms. New terms have emerged. Now we begin to understand words like repurpose, epidemiologies, contact tracing, IATF, and all this. Enhanced community quarantine, which is lockdown, social distancing, and all of this. These are radical practices that have changed human behavior and is still in the process of changing and on a global scale. Consider social distancing. Now, that's a very famous term, isn't it? When I look at this poster, it made me laugh. People now, they have to practice social distancing, maybe even in the homes. There's another picture I saw that made me laugh, and it says, tuwang-tuwa mga tanod kasi wala nang tao sa kalsada. Hindi lang nila alam, lahat pala sila ay nasa bubong. Well, think about this. Beso-beso, hugging, something as basic as a handshake may become practices of antiquity. And we need to stay 2 meters apart. Now, here's another change. This is the first time in the history of humanity wherein the best favor and help you can do for someone is to stay away from that person. Sounds cruel, but it has to be done. COVID-19 enforces changes upon us. One, it has propelled businesses to suddenly enter into a crash course of digital transformation. I remember last year and 2 years ago, I don't know if Rachel, if you remember, the topic given me was digital or die. There's so many senior managers of different companies who are still resistant to change. They don't want to change into the digital transformation. And now, today, it's so easy. Nobody has any other choice. They have to turn to digital. And what about number two, WFH, work from home or remote work? Now, remote work or work from home is now moot and academic. The age-old debate whether should we allow our employees to work at home? Don't you think their productivity is going to go down? Should we maybe, the millennials, they don't want to join companies if we don't offer that option. So many of my clients, what they do is they would offer one day, 2 day, you can work from home. Today, that issue has become moot and academic, isn't it? Guess what happens now? ECQ has enforced everyone to work from home, no matter what generations you are from. Whether you're seniors, or you're Gen X, or you're baby boomers, you are millennials or Gen Z. Well, just one thing I want to share with you. We have always disagreed on the right term. Should we call them Generation Z? Should we call them Zillennials? Should we, my Aussie friends call them Gen Z? Now there seems to be a new term now. They all call the Gen V or Generation V, Generation Virus. Well, things are obviously going to change. Look at ECQ. Now, I'm not too sure to the veracity of the statements, but it leaves one wondering whether these statements may be true or not. Ito yung collection of quotes I gathered, and I hope you enjoy this. Just take a look at the expressions of people. Sabi ng isa, I need to practice social distancing from the refrigerator. Another one says, still haven't decided where to go to my vacation, the living room or the bedroom. This morning, sabi nung isa, I saw a neighbor talking to her cat. It was obvious she thought her cat understood her. I came into my house and told my dog. We laughed a lot. Next, quarantine has turned us into dogs. We roam the house all day looking for food. We are told, no. If we get too close to strangers, we get excited about car rides as well. Ito naman, obviously from a parent. Ito ang note niya. Day 5 of homeschooling. One of those little monsters called in with a bomb threat. Another one says, Day 6 of homeschooling. My child just said, I hope I don't have the same teacher next year. I'm so offended. Well, I'm so excited. One person says, it's time to take out the garbage. What should I wear? Another one says, do not call the police on suspicious people in the neighborhood. Those are your neighbors without makeup and hair extensions. Somebody says, I never thought the comment, I wouldn't touch him or her with a 6 foot pole, now has become public policy.
Yeah.
And this one is nice. This has something to do with technology. Alexa, what's the weekend weather? And Alexa's response is, it doesn't matter. You're not going anywhere. And this one naman, the virus has done what no woman has been able to do. Cancel all sports, shut down all bars, and keep men at home. Do you remember the phrase of antiquity? This is the popular topic and seminars during the pre-COVID era. This is called work-life balance. Well, the question we have to answer is, how do we strike a reasonable balance between family and work life when both happens at the same place and at the same time? This is not new. Members of the gig economy, they are experts when it comes to remote work. But this time, there is something new. Kaya you can't say, matagal ko nang ginagawa yan eh. The environment now is a little bit different. Consider the following. School is suspended. And it will stay that way for a while. Next, working parents have an additional burden now that universities and school systems are sending students home to conduct virtual learning. And many either cannot afford to have yayas, or many yayas are even locked down in their own places, so they have to do additional work. What about the spouse? Whereas the old scenario would have one working at home while the other one working outside in the office or in the factories, and now both of them are working at home. And now, what new dynamics do we expect from all of this? You now have two environments coming together, your job and your home life,
Yeah.
that were never meant to overlap this much until today. Even if you're a seasoned pro at working from home, doing it alongside a spouse or with children around is sure to present a whole new set of challenges. But before you get overwhelmed, I've collected a few ideas I'm going to be presenting you, and I hope you'll find them useful. So, here are the ideas. And I would appreciate if you have questions later on to throw me questions, and I'll try my best to answer them. So, idea number one is this: there will be new challenges, so you better create a plan. Let me repeat that. There's going to be new challenges. Create a plan. Here's the key operative word, have a structure. Not only for you, but for your
Yeah.
kids too. There's definitely flexibility within each day, but they should know when you start for the day and when you get offline
Yeah.
in the evening.
Amen.
This is not one of those days where you say, oh, I'm just gonna live my life one day at a time thingy. No, it's not gonna work. Because what happens is it's gonna overwhelm you if you don't have a plan. You may be saying, well, we're into a few weeks now, and so far things have been working. Well, my argument is that's good, but perhaps having a plan will even improve your condition even better. So, not
Yeah.
bad after all, right? Now, family needs will always be there. So are work needs. If you do not come up with a plan, you may find yourself working outside your own boundaries, working around the clock, because the truth is, some home life requires more work, situation, as well as relationships with the ones you are working with and living with. They are demands. Family needs will be there, so are work needs. If you don't come up with a plan, you're going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, when you were in your physical offices, you had the luxury of quiet and privacy. Yes, sometimes you are interrupted by a nosy workmate or a boss who loves to gossip, but in general, there was predictability and there was quiet and privacy. But now you are going to be interrupted by the people you love.
Yes.
You can say, "Get away from me." They're not going anywhere. And it is always a good plan to have a plan,
Yeah.
a fix up place that stimulates your or simulates your office so that the rest of the family would know that once you enter that space, you are in the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that place, I'm going to tell you a story. When my kids were little, including this one sitting beside me, the one mistake I had in life was that we never had a fixed place wherein you can call their study place. So my kids were just, they're lounging anywhere. They're in the sofa,
We
they're
were
in
like
the bed.
homeless
Yeah, they
kids
were like homeless kids.
sitting on the
And
floor.
anywhere they are, that's not a very good thing. When you have a fixed place, it communicates and sends off the message that
Yeah.
this is a fixed place. This place is intended for study. And in your case, this place is intended for you to do work.
Yep.
So that your kids and everybody else in the house would know, that is workspace. It is always good to have a part of having a fixed up place
Mm-hmm.
that simulates your office so that the rest of the family know that you are entering your workspace and what kitchen table, dining table. You be creative. You can do that. You need to ask yourself these important questions. Number one, do I need the quiet to focus on so that I can make sure I can get this? Number two, can you predict the best times to make calls or meetings? Those are important things. And number three, how often will you need to multitask while you're working? These are crucial questions you need to ask yourself because you're going to build a structure around it. And now that you have established this, you may want to, one, carve out exclusive work time. Send older kids off to entertain themselves or alternate childcare with a spouse. Two, spouse should understand this is teamwork. This is no longer the old traditional gender role wherein, the wife takes care of the chores and takes care of the kids and the guy does more important things. No, no, no. This is teamwork. You gotta define how to help each other out both in chores and in doing other stuff. And number three, for others, you may have to be the primary or the only caretaker of your children, which leaves limited time to work. But still, you need a structure for that. You got to face these realities up front and come out with a plan. Communicate your needs. And here are very important things you have to understand. Never underestimate the challenge that are going to hit you and they're going to come ahead of you. The second thing I want to share with you, so number one is you got to have a plan. Number two is you got to be candid with your boss and teammates. This is very important. Listen, this is not just about you. This is also about your family members too. So you got to be candid with them. Just put yourself in their shoes. Consider the following. They have to stop all of their routines, their sports, their practices, their activities, they're all gone. They have to stay home while you work. They're gonna get bored. They get restless. So one thing I want you to understand is let your kids be kids. Set up an environment and time when the kids can be themselves, being kids. Let them play. Now, you may be working at home, but your kids are not staying in an office. They're staying in your home. Uh, they are at home. Your plan should include time for their study and time for their play as well. Not video games all the time, all throughout, but the structure will train the kids in the basic message that there's time for serious responsibilities, catching up with your homework, reading good books, doing assignments, and play is a reward. after your responsibilities have been taken care of, when work is done. Now, when it comes to your workmates, this is the time when you need to have a candid conversation with your boss and team about your unique circumstances. This is very important. A lot of people feel shy. They feel embarrassed. You don't want to talk to your boss about the situation you have in your home, but you got to do this. Explain your commitment to helping the company navigate these unprecedented times, but also make sure you voice what obstacles you will have to manage in the background. Believe me, they will understand. This is not being unprofessional. No, no, no. As a matter of fact, you are being candid and you are being practical. They will understand, believe me. You don't want anyone making their own assumptions about what you can and what you cannot do. You got to be candid with these conversations, let them know. Address any parts of your job that will be impacted from working from home and confirm what tasks you can commit or complete. This will help you and your boss to get ahead of any potential issues. Do your best, but don't overpromise. Number three, concentrate on your primary objectives. Check your priorities and your deadlines and your expected deliverables. Your goal for the next few weeks is to successfully fulfill these initial and essential requirements of your job while caring for your family physically and mentally and emotionally as well. For the next few weeks during ECQ, don't work yourself to death thinking that, I've attended Francis Kong seminars in the past. I need to go the extra mile. I need to exert myself. No, 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 no. That's not the time. Your main objective now is to find a sustainable balance to get through the next few weeks. Do not be shy or short to ask your colleagues for support. But make sure these are things you need and these are not things you want. Be very clear about that because your colleagues are going through the same things too. Do not stay so glued to your work such that you forget to manage your time and efficiency. Now, the next thing I'm going to say to you, this is very important. You take a break after 90 minutes. This way, you prolong your peak performance even when times were normal. I would say the same thing. I get so engrossed in writing and doing research work and preparing my lessons. I have a stopwatch and I have an alarm that reminds me, hey, it's 90 minutes. You gotta stop, pause, take a sip of water. Don't dehydrate. The weather is extremely warm now. Stretch yourself, walk around, move. That way you can prolong your efficiency and your peak performance. And go to the pantry. That means your kitchen. And stretch, take a sip of water, get coffee. Just break your work for a while and then you go back. Now, I'm going to talk about leadership at this point. If you're in leadership, review your requests. Do not add unnecessary burdens on your people. Your colleagues are in the same shoes as you are. This unprecedented event will bring in unprecedented challenges and things will change sometimes from a day-to-day basis. So you got to consider the things you requested previously. Are the things that I requested my team members to do, are they still necessary or they're not as important today as when it seemed like the day I gave it to them? Relieve them of those unnecessary burdens. If you are a leader, you need to understand this. Delivering for your clients will remain a high priority, but as much as you can, you got to be sure you provide your colleagues with flexibility to manage your family life as well. Do not forget to set boundaries, by the way. Some people I know just continue working and then they get overwhelmed. It's like, I was talking to Denise earlier and she says, sometimes I just feel like I don't want that just because I'm working from home, I'm not delivering to the best that I can. Now, you can be so cruel to yourself by thinking that way, such that you don't understand boundaries. So you got to be working so hard because there's this unnecessary excess baggage of guilt you're carrying, saying that maybe I'm not doing enough the way I would do in a normal office. That's not good. Others naman, they're on the extreme end. They may have forgotten that working from home is not a paid vacation. No, it's still work naman. So you got to make sure that you set the boundaries. I'm going to give you idea number 4. Hey, guys, 2 words. So simple, profound. Be healthy. You do not just do time management. You do not just do task management. You have to do energy management. Managing your physical stamina is one of the most important things you need to do right now. Get enough sleep. Eat healthy food. Don't do mindless munching, putting on snack foods all the time. Fill up yourself with vitamins and supplements so build up your immune system. Exercise. Get some sunlight. Pray. Meditate. Refrain from mindless munching and stay away from being glued to the news. Don't let negativity creep up into your mind because I'm telling you it's going to take a toll on you. Guard your rest aggressively.
Yeah.
It is not selfish to choose sleep over sending emails or finally watching a show with your partner. Get some rest. Try to remind yourself that your entire family will benefit from being around a healthier or at least a better rested person and a version of you.
Mm.
And I'm going to give you the last idea. I'm sure there are many, but I hope you find this one helpful. Number 5, enjoy the people you are with. Communicate. You need even more support from your partner while you're living in closer proximity with them, but with greater physical isolation from your work team. But communication is key. If the failure to communicate effectively would bring unnecessary frictions and tensions. Don't make any assumptions about how you will balance childcare or other home tasks. And don't hesitate to speak up when an established relationship norm no longer works. In this new setting, for example, in the new office, you would do work and then you come home, have dinner, and you would want to watch Netflix together with your partner. If that thing won't work now, be sure you communicate and change the norms of behavior. For example, after putting the kids, you may need to skip your habit of doing the usual things you need to do, and you might just want to take up some rest and sleep. And you got to communicate it to your partner as well. For all you know, your partner may be needing that too. Whatever it is that you need, share your thoughts and concerns early. If you wait until you are truly frustrated, you're more likely to become demanding or you begin blaming your partner for failing to help you with a desire they didn't even know you had. Communicate, communicate, communicate. It's critical that you discuss each of your needs, wants, and expectations frequently. Here is the biggest factor of them all for work life harmony. Relish the moment, have fun. Many of us are scared. We are worried. We are anxious. But to project all of your fears and worries and anxieties upon your family members becomes a punishment for them. They don't deserve that. They didn't cause the COVID-19 thing. Sometimes in our wanting to vent our anxieties, we begin to say, don't you understand what's going to happen to us? Our job security is on the line. And those things will just add tension to the family members we have. So let them appreciate the moment of togetherness. You have to be intentional in having fun moments with the people you are with. Navigating change is not easy. In fact, it is hard. So you got to go easy on yourself. And if you start to feel you are falling short, this lifestyle change won't be easy, but long after you get through these tumultuous times, you'll be proud of your ability to adapt and persevere. You know what keeps me having fun time? The chairman over
Oh my
here.
gosh, she's dressed
Hey,
up.
Mateo.
Oh,
Hey.
what a good surprise.
You know,
Mr.
we are
Popo.
so intentional in having fun moments here in the house. And, well, this guy now, our entire life centered around this guy. And so he's a
Hi.
welcome break for all of us. And he's wearing his bow tie now. And uh, oh, by the way, my grandson, Mateo, whom I call the chairman, is available for product endorsement at a rate that you will
Call
have
me
to
up.
negotiate with Rachel. Thank you. Thank you, Mateo.
Kiss, 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 kiss.
So, let me
Hey,
conclude.
it's hot here.
Some people say that WFH or work from home will be the thing of the future. Not really. Remote work is already here and it is here to stay. Business companies now are discovering that people are still as productive as they are, whether they are working from home or in a physical office. But social distancing does not mean social isolation. You and I are not created to be alone. You need a community, and our closest community, and seems like the only one happens to be our family. The adjustment period is going to be uncomfortable, but this is simply because we are learning new things. In fact, maybe, if you care to admit, we are learning new things on how we relate with our loved ones now. Everybody is using the term the new normal. Let me depend let me defend my argument. No, no, we're not yet there. My advantage in life and business is that I've gone through many kinds of crises in life and business before. Once this is settled, we do not enter the new normal. We will enter the next normal.
Yeah.
And there will be more next normals after this. The world will no longer be the same.
Mm.
The one important thing I have learned in my life is that we have to make the most of what we have. If you continue to be fearful of things you lose, if you focus on the things you no longer have, or if you focus on the things you desire but you can't have it, you're going to be miserable. We have work. That's a blessing. We have our family. That is a blessing. We don't miss the things we used to have, and neither should we wish for the things we don't have. We make sure we make the most of what we have, and we do this by enjoying the moments. Share with your family the hope that Jesus says he will never leave us nor
Forsake
forsake
us.
us,
Yes.
and that he himself says we should not be worried about tomorrow's troubles because tomorrow will bring troubles enough for itself. And then he's the one who says, if God feeds the sparrows,
Yeah.
and we are worth much more than sparrows, then he's going to provide for us. The phrase has become my favorite handle during these very difficult times. I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future.
Future. Yes.
And that is good enough for me. Meanwhile, enjoy the moments. And one last thing, if this situation applies to you, I promise you, this is the best remedy for work life harmony. And this is it. Write this down. Very important. Here goes. Love your mother in law. Then you're gonna have peace and harmony. God bless you.
Yeah. It's actually, I've heard you say that love your mother, and a lot of sessions with love your mother in law.
Yes, get along with her.
So, we have already a couple of questions coming in from our Facebook followers.
Yes.
So, from Sheila May Beltran, she asked, what advice can you give people who experience midlife crisis or career crisis? Or for people na hindi pa alam kung anong gusto nilang gawin sa buhay? Thank you, Sir Francis. Blessed with your life.
Thank you. Well, it's a question that is also very difficult to address unless I get some qualifying questions. For example, like how old would the person be? Do you know that midlife crisis is somehow a little bit a thing of the past. In America, for example, the demographics showed that midlife now is no longer at age 40. Because of the longevity of life, pre-COVID era, by the way, midlife in America now is considered age 55 to early 70s because of the prolonged shelf life of human existence. Kaya yung age group between 55 to 75, they're now called the flat agers because they refuse to grow old, they're still productive. And what takes place now is not midlife crisis, it's called quarter life crisis. This happened to a lot of millennials. Maraming mga millennials, at the age of 25 and 28, they now feel that I'm not going anywhere. Maybe because they have had faulty expectations when they were growing up. A lot of millennials grew up with a false promise like, one day if you do things right and if you, sorry but I hate this phrase, follow your passion. And these are crazy motivational speakers cliche without understanding the context. And when you follow your passion, you run after your passion, money will run after you. It doesn't happen that way. So they feel like all the dreams and expectations of becoming a billionaire by the time they reach the age of Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates when they drop out from school, it's not happening. And they find that they're so far away from their dreams, they get into a state of panic. My advice for people who are in that stage is there is a thing that you and I need to realize. Behind every success, there is a process. There's a
Yeah.
process of growth, a process of consciousness, a process of adding more to our skill set, a process of experimentation with different things, and a process of discovering your unique strength. And then you build skills out of your natural talent until you reach an age wherein you build competence, and then you begin to leverage on that. And then it leads you to the sense of success that you're watching for and waiting for because you have built a process. So I would say that don't be too much in a
Oh
hurry.
yeah, right.
Exactly, that's what I was
Agree.
saying. So don't be too much in a hurry, but you be patient and be diligent in building your process and working on it. So maybe the last thing I want to share as an answer to that question is you got to stop saying, I'm trying to be successful, and you
Right.
start saying, I am training to be successful. That's
Training.
the working of a
Training.
future speaker.
Training.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I had a friend who
Yeah.
mentioned with all of the things that's happening, that person's going through a second quarter life crisis.
A second quarter
And I
life
said,
crisis.
you know what? Right now, I think what we are experiencing, like everyone's experiencing a crisis, no matter what generation you are in. So
Yes.
maybe it's more of a generalized thing, right? Are you experiencing crisis
Yeah, so
yourself?
crisis is now normal with everyone. So
Yeah.
everybody's going through that one. Yeah.
I just realized you guys are, we're all wearing the same shade.
Oh, yeah, that's the color code for today, right, Mateo, the
Yeah.
chairman?
We
Right.
followed Mateo.
Yeah.
Okay. Alexis Manlangit asked, how do I adequately explain to my supervisor that his perception of my laziness or refusal to work is just me unable to properly work due to anxiety because of COVID situation? Oh, let's eat.
You,
Wanna call your mommy?
I'm gonna answer your question, Alexis, from two perspectives. If you happen to be the owner of the business, or if you happen to be a responsible leader in charge of a team, to say that you're not able to deliver because you're anxious about the COVID 19, my automatic default defense system and reply to you is why? Is there anybody accepted from COVID 19? You don't know what I'm going through. My pressures are different from yours. Therefore, it's not my problem and it's not an acceptable answer. Now, that's going to sound very harsh, and indeed it is. You might want to identify. So, Alexis, you might want to identify what areas of anxiety what areas of your work that triggers anxiety, and then you will have to present them in a very candid conversation, in a very respectful way, and say, these are the things that I find difficulty in. I would love that you might help me go through this. Because if you're going to force your way through this and out of your anxiety, you won't be able to deliver the expected results from you. That's going to add more to your being overwhelmed because there's going to be additional pressures on top of your existing pressures, and you might need help from there on. Second is you just have to come to a point wherein you have to understand that COVID 19 is making everybody anxious. So,
Yeah.
what are the triggers? What causes your anxiety? Maybe you're watching the news too much.
Yeah.
I've been involved in a television program for 2 years. I had a regular segment in the morning show. I know how television programs work. News are just merely news cycles. Developments and breaking news. When you find breaking news, they try to make it the breaking news because they want to catch your attention. But essentially, developments are few and far in between. Therefore, there are new stuff being delivered by new people with different ways of expressing it, but they're new. But if you don't understand, it's going to creep in on you. It's going to trigger your anxiety even more. Everybody's in the same spot. So
Mm.
I would suggest that you take more time to meditate and make sure that you're eating right and this is not a good time to be watching dark movies
Yeah.
in Netflix like the zombies and the
Or
or the pandemics
yeah.
and all those. This might be a good time to watch cute Korean inspiring comedies and movies that can inspire you a little bit more.
Yes.
So you deal with your anxiety problems, but at the same time be candid and tell your bosses these are the things
Yeah.
I might need help for the moment. And could you help me with this? And maybe you'll be surprised at how accommodating your boss would be, but he needs to know or she needs
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially this time, it's really hard to communicate. Like on a normal basis, we already have problems with communicating with other
Right.
people. But now with this situation where you can't even meet each other face to face,
Yeah.
the level of difficulty increases.
Correct.
So
And you should be listening to my leadership webinar now. I'm doing leadership webinars now with my other clients. And I'm addressing the leaders. This is the time when you have to be compassionate, you have to be patient, you have to show empathy, you have to tell your people you care for them. This is not the time when you'll be squeezing them to produce results because everybody's going through the same thing. So
yes.
your boss, I would say that would probably know that. But if that's the kind of boss who still squeezes you and pressures you as if this is not COVID era, then one good recommendation is to recommend your boss to attend one of my seminars. So maybe they'll
Yeah.
understand a little bit more.
Someone asked, "What if you live in an already troublesome household? How do you cope with that?"
First, we have to ask the person what are the troublesome household you're talking about. But perhaps the best way I can say is create a safe space within that place and try to make sure that when you're inside that space, everybody in the household knows that you're working because you have to earn an income. And that income is there to be able to help the family as well. So you don't use this as a weapon to shove it to them, but you have to you have to reasonably explain, everybody please help me out with this and give me the space that I need. And try to be encouraging as well. Everybody has his or her own story and his or her own fears and anxiety as well. So try to create that safe space wherein the troublesome household there will not bring their troubles. So there's a force field of some kind, and that you can be safe, a little bit safe working within that space.
Yeah. So for the next question, I'm very excited to introduce this person that I don't know because
Hmm.
the name obviously is the parents gave that person probably a very yummy name.
Yeah. So what's the
the
name?
the person that asked is from the name is, I don't know if this is actually your name, Laguna Cheese Sticks.
Oh
Asked.
my. I like that.
The parents
Yeah.
must be like foodies.
Yeah.
Sir, what do you advise those who lost their jobs because companies have decided to close down. Do you think other companies will consider to explore new business strategies?
They have no choice. The fallout out of this COVID is that the truth and reality is many businesses will close. Other business will have to merge and partner with bigger ones or sell off their business. But one thing is very sure, not everyone will survive this business.
Yeah, yeah.
And so some people are going to be out of their jobs. So we have to be creative at this time, and this is something I don't have a steady answer for that. But what I would like to say is that you may want to take the time to get to learn new skills and to be creative without spending a lot of money by asking help from friends to help you develop new skills. Those who would understand technology have a better chance. Maybe they can still do something online, and others will just have to be laid off from their work.
Yeah.
What I'd like them to understand is these things have happened before. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that you need to come to face with. So the earlier you accept that idea is the better you will be, and you got to move on from there on and try to find other spaces where you can offer your service and at whatever the rate it is. This is no longer the time for us to be negotiating about pay and perks and everything else, but just to keep ourselves productive. Don't idle off and don't feel depressed about this because it's not going to add value to your condition. But that's the reality of things.
Yeah. Actually, what's funny now that I think of it, the past 2 years, one of the most increasingly popular topics the companies usually ask you to talk about is about change.
Hmm.
But now that people are in this situation where we're all forced in change, so do you have any advice for
Well,
everyone?
let me zero in on those who are going to be laid off. If you're out of jobs now, this is the time for you to even increase your presence in networking with other people.
Yeah.
Offer your services, be productive, participate in community service, be active in church, get to know more people,
Yeah.
get to increase your network of other people because whether you like it or not, the more people you know, the wider is your connection and your
Yeah.
network, the
Yeah.
more chances you have in having another opportunity to get another job.
That's right.
So no definite answer there, but it's definitely better than just not doing anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we have a question from Louis Paraga Sebastian. We have a friend who is living and working from home. She
Yes.
is becoming anxious since last week.
Yes.
We have regular chats, but we can still sense her anxiety. How can we
Hmm.
help?
Oh, the one thing, Louis, thank you for your question. The one idea I forgot to include in what I presented earlier
Mm.
is you gotta have constant chats with your friends. That way you can still have a semblance of balance. And my family last Holy Thursday, we together with my son who is living somewhere else, they're newly married, together with Max, my daughter-in-law, we administered communion in the house. And it was my son who led the ceremony. It's a very meaningful time for the family to be
Yes.
together. Uh, there are Bible studies that I'm doing now with friends and their family, and there are chat moments that we do with friends. If your friend is now having anxiety and you can sense that, encourage. Maybe you need to increase more of chat time with her and then just reassure her and encourage. We may not be able to give answers, but sometimes our mere presence is an answer in itself.
Yeah.
This COVID 19 is a very cruel killer. It, it separates relationship.
Yeah.
This morning, a friend of mine passed, and because of COVID, he will be the number four people I know who are casualties of this COVID thing. And it's very, very sad. But we're all struggling.
Yeah.
We're all fighting in this. And sometimes we just need encouragement. We just need people to be there. So use technology, Zoom, and offer some encouragement to your friend.
Yeah,
Really.
also, I think because a lot of people increase the chat frequency, but I think what we also need to do is to be more intentional with the type of conversations
Oh
that you
yes,
have.
yes,
So,
yes,
like maybe if the conversation is veering too much towards the negative side of what you see in the news,
yeah,
maybe intentionally shift it to a more positive
yes,
conversation.
yeah.
So,
That's right.
yeah,
And the most important thing is, I keep on telling people don't join the ranting and the raving in social media because it's not going to get you anywhere.
yeah,
There's no added value there.
yeah,
And there's just so much happening there that it's going to affect your mind. And this is the most powerful faculty that God has given us. This is the control center. Everything begins here. We might as well feed it with good things that can help us cope with the situation we're going through.
yeah.
Yeah.
Suzette Saip, no, said, how long would you recommend is a healthy duration of a structured live webinar, given that most of us are relying to live webinars right now?
Uh,
Thank you.
what is the question now? In between, a
Um,
structured.
like, how long do you think should this type of structure
What type?
should persist?
May
You
I know
think?
what type of structure that you mean? Like having a live webinar?
Okay. Yes, she mentioned I'm Suzette, if you could please clarify your
Yeah.
question, then we will go back to it.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, now that now that we're on the topic of live webinars and we're doing a lot of these,
Hmm.
how long do you think this type of thing
Oh.
can persist?
Oh. Many of my other corporate clients, because they have earmarked my appearances with them, some of them, the majority of them have canceled. Some of them have postponed this towards the end of the year, hoping that things are going to improve. Others, they just thought this way. Since the budget has been earmarked anyway, we're going to convert the live event now into a online thingy,
Yeah.
which I'm doing now. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, this week now, and after this, I have another one with
Yeah,
a
it's why we're
client.
a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, and that's why we shifted to an earlier
Yeah.
slot. And so, can you just imagine putting yourself in the situation, even when things go back to normal, with social distancing now? Can you imagine having a function room now? How can you fit in all
Yeah.
400? Yeah, I mean, you got to space them out. It's not going to happen that way. So I am expecting a lot more webinars that's going to happen. And while everybody's offering free webinars because everybody's in a state of panic, they
Yeah.
want to be present in the online space. And not everyone is given the blessing of being paid in giving this service. But later on, you're going to find those that are established and those who have a respectable following and those who are respected in the industry as practitioners, they're going to be paid doing online webinars. And so this thing, I think, is going to stay.
Yeah.
It's going to be a combination of a little bit of a maybe 20 to 30 people in a live gathering, and maybe for a bigger group, like what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to be addressing 400 agents of a industry organization. That's going to come in as a structured webinar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, now that we talked about the schedule, if you guys think that this time slot is much better, then just comment below and then we can adjust. Or if you think that 4 p.m. is still the best, then we can stick with 4 p.m. But you would like to hear more from you and how we can best serve you better during this long
Yeah,
ECQ.
that's right. And Pocket Mentor here is for you. Your needs are what matter to us. And so we want to know what works or what topics you're requesting for and what's the best time that you find useful for you as well.
Oh, we have a very famous person asking us. This person has been asking us for weeks now,
Yes.
and the name is Anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
What
I know him.
advice
I know.
what advice can you give to people who are feeling drained working from home and having the same environment every day?
You know what? That is called cabin fever. I have an entire module on that. Cabin fever means, can you imagine you are locked down inside a cabin and you have to endure 2 to 3 months of winter months in certain cold places in the world,
Yeah.
so it can get into you. Especially if you're used to be going malling and you're always out. Now, cabin fever induces anxiety and stress, and it's a normal thing, but you gotta fight cabin fever. So how do you do that? Hey, get some rest and make yourself productive. Create a routine.
Yeah.
Your structure, your plan, your routine matters. And do regular exercise. You got to check the kind of intake of food you're taking. And do you know that if you keep on munching mindlessly, those chemicals in not so healthy food can get into your mind and affect your temperament and disposition as well. So,
Yeah.
uh, cabin fever is going to be here, but you got to stay safe, stay home. Don't get out, don't go up the roof. And,
Yeah,
you just got
actually,
to cope.
you mentioned about chemicals. So yesterday, we were having a content meeting, and that was just after I ate cup noodles for the first time in a long time or
Yeah.
in a while. And I think it made me more slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I like they started a new thing since ECQ, which is because we don't have a lawn, it's just a house. We don't have the moment we step outside, it's already the street.
Yeah.
But they still need sunlight, so every morning
Yeah, I'll open a little peak, remove the
yeah,
curtains. I'll have a little bit
open
of my
the
sunbathing together with the
window.
chairman, my
Yeah,
grandson.
yeah, get a little bit of sun on purpose, and I think that really helps a lot.
I'm going to share with you some quick tips on exercise. You guys, you guys got to understand this. Before COVID, I was doing the same routine of exercise at home. I didn't have the luxury of going to the gym, and especially now, I don't intend to go to the gym. And so, this is what I learned from my retired Marine officer from the U.S.
My
Armed
uncle.
Forces. We also call him Uncle Felix. Felix is my brother-in-law who was a retired officer from the U.S. Marines. And he says, Francis, you got to know this. We in the Marines, we used to jog 6 miles every day. Now, here are three important parts of the body that you should understand. And you got to take care of. Number one, the chest. Number two, the core. And number three, the
The
legs.
legs.
So what do you do? For chest, I do push-ups. For the core, I do sit-ups.
Mm.
And for the legs, I do stretching and I do a little bit of stationary jogging. That's it. And so you still have to do exercise so that you don't get yourself absorbed with too much cabin fever, and don't let your mind wander about the places you used to go. What about the travel fair you used to attend and you want to travel? Those are the things that are not for now.
Yeah.
It will come back one day, but meanwhile, get settled down.
You know, uh, dalgona coffee is good for your health. You know why?
Why?
It forces you to exercise if you don't have a machine.
You keep on whipping.
Yeah, you keep on shaking or mixing it. So that was
Yeah,
my exercise for like 3 days.
right.
My arms hurt. So Jay Pacheco Jr. said, "How can I be a good leader for my team? We are all working at home, and for us, this is a new setup, especially for me.
Mm.
We are all sales people, and hindi kami sanay sa ganitong setup. So how can I be a good leader for them to be effective and motivated even working from home?" It's a
There's
good
just two
question.
words. Two words that will define an ordinary leader and an extraordinary leader during these very difficult times. You know what those two words are? Show care.
Mm.
Now, when times were normal, oh, kumusta ang benta? How's sales?
Yeah.
Asan na yung status? Are we hitting targets or not? This is not the time for that.
Yeah.
When you're working from home and you're leading your team from home, I'd like to suggest a couple of things. When you open your Zoom thing, start with greeting the person, how are you now?
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything I can do to help you here?
Yeah.
What are some of the things and necessary adjustments? Am I Are there certain things we need to adjust? Are you okay? Are you okay with your loved ones? It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
If I happen to be working for a leader that I know who genuinely cares for me,
Yeah.
and by the way, you can't pretend that, ha? Kahit na screen lang yan, it is
Huli.
so visible. Huling-huli ka. And so show care. Be focused on the person before the profession.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
That's a
that
good quote.
way, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a
Write
good
that
quote.
down. I might forget that.
Put it up on the screen, guys.
Yeah. There you
So,
go.
actually, you mentioned it earlier, and I think that's really important. You ask the other people inside your team how they are, but make sure that you're listening, because you, especially when it's this setup, people can see
Yeah.
small details. Like
Yeah.
if you're checking your browser while they're
Uh-oh.
speaking, people can see, because they can see how your eyes move
Yeah.
because of the camera. So
And if you're not wearing pants, people can see that when you stand up as well. So,
yep. Okay,
yeah.
so next question. Joel Malyari, as a leader, what can you do to address your subordinates' anxiety on the future of the business? Having in mind, quote unquote, it is okay not to be okay during this period. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you, Joel. What you did was that you just reminded me to announce that I'm doing a leadership online thingy. On the title is Leadership Tough Times Leadership.
Mm.
And so it's a lot of dynamics now. And I'm almost complete now in my preparation for a lesson which I call uh, employ or engaging your people through these very tough times, even using technology. So there are ways of employee engagement using online methodology as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So the important thing now is this. Number one, you have to show your vulnerability. And in part of my presentation in my leadership seminars, I'm going to say, you have to make them understand you and I, we are working on a very narrow perspective and spectrum of developments that happen from day to day. We can't see the big picture yet. And so what we're doing is my boss is giving me limited information, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm passing on the work to you based on the limited information that my boss gave me. Why? Even the chairman of the board or the owner of the business, they have very limited information as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Next thing you got to do now is to make them understand things may just suddenly change. This is not something like we strategize this and then this is going to be a long term thing. No, things will change midway. And we need to make final adjustments. We need to make sudden adjustments. We got to make very dramatic adjustments. So this is not intentional in making you feel miserable. But this is what we're going to do. Next, as a leader, you got to tell them, I'm going to make wrong decisions. You have to be compassionate with me and you have to be patient with me because I'm going to make wrong decisions. My boss is going to make wrong decisions.
yeah.
Everybody's in a state of transition.
Mm.
Next, this is not the time for you to be motivating your people through a crisis. You don't motivate your people through a crisis, you lead your people through a
Yeah,
crisis.
yeah,
And you don't overpromise.
yes,
You have to be communicating facts confidently, but you don't communicate facts definitively. Definitively. In other words, you don't be definite with your proclamation, but you have to be confident. This is the information we have. We have to work on this. But you don't say, hey, this is going to be it for the rest of the year.
yeah,
And so there's a lot more there. But the most important thing right now is for your people to understand we're all in this together. It's becoming a cliche, but the fact is, yes, we are all in this together. We need to be strong together. And when this is done, we emerge stronger together. And so, you as a leader, you need to be strong so you can lend your strength to those others in your team who would need a little bit more your strength as
yes.
well.
Actually, what's interesting is now that I keep hearing these things, none of your your content has changed, but I think most of it has been magnified because of
Yeah.
the situation.
Hmm.
So like prior to before ECQ, y- we we talked about authenticity of leadership
Yeah.
and transparency, and then I think now people are starting to really come to grips with the reality of the importance of
That's the same
these
thing.
things. It's the same thing.
Why? Because values are values no matter what situation you are in. Basics
Yeah.
are basics no matter
Yeah.
what situations you are in.
Also, like you really get to see the reality of the value of soft skills
Oh, yeah.
right
Soft
now.
skills are here to stay. In fact, because of COVID, it's going to be magnified and amplified many, many times over.
So I have a question. So
Yes.
we still have a couple of questions coming in, but so you know how we our partners in Pocket Mentor, COI Learn, they're very smart people.
Yeah.
And yesterday, while we were talking about content with our guests next week, which is Karen Ibasco, what we were gonna be talking about.
Karen. My goodness. Karen's going to be the
Yeah,
guest
you're
next
gonna be
week?
interviewing
Oh, I
her
love
next week.
Karen.
So,
Yeah.
they mentioned at one point how, you know, it's before when you plan, like it's easy to see the end of a certain situation, but with what's happening now, it's like a very long middle.
Yeah.
So, what
Yeah.
advice can you give people who are in leadership positions, whether it's at home or at work,
Well,
on how to handle this uncertain end?
well, one thing I'm going to share with you is this. It just seems so long. It's the same. The days just go by seemingly so
Okay.
long. But can you imagine how long have we been in lockdown? 5 weeks pa lang. But it feels like forever, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so there's a perspective here on the time frame that's going on. And that's also the reason why I keep on saying we got to stay productive, we got to stay on the learning mode. And just to be reminded, if you're going to be watching next week, that's fantastic. Karen Ibasco is our very own Miss Earth
International.
International, not just Philippines, huh?
Yes.
And
And
she's not just brains, she's not just beauty, she's brains, because she's a physicist. How do
yeah,
you like
medical
that?
physicist.
So I better prepare myself because I'm going to be
Yeah.
interviewing a
Let's not
very
mention
brainy
any
person.
physics to
All
her because
right.
she can immediately check. So
Yeah.
maybe we have time for we're actually extending beyond 1 hour, but we can take in three more questions. So one question is very interesting from
Yes.
Mark Hualda.
Yeah.
How can we manage old family members who are not following rules?
Mark, thank you for your question. Paluin mo sa puwit yan. No, no,
Wait, are you telling me that I can do that?
no, no. You have to sit them down respectfully and say, hindi po ito biro, ha?
Yeah.
And just consider this. You might feel that you want to do whatever it is you want, but what you're doing is carrying consequence that might affect everyone in the family. You can't afford just one. Let me just give you a little bit of the bad news. The unfortunate news is this. I know of a friend who is already about 2 weeks in ICU, and a friend of mine who got out 1 week in ICU spent about 2 to 5 million pesos. That's how delicate it is.
Oh my
It's as
gosh.
simple as staying at home, following rules, and obeying rather than being pasaway and endangering everybody else. This is another quote that I posted in my Facebook page. Ang grabe, ang daming response. One businesswoman got so mad with young people. Ayaw magmask eh. Sabi nila, it doesn't hit us young people. Sabi niya, wear your mask and stop killing the elderlies. And that's true. It's not just for us.
Yeah.
It's for others as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
And there's a lot of cases coming out that it's not just people who are elderly that are getting
Yeah, the
affected.
kids are getting affected
Yeah,
too.
and dying too.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, with
true.
That's not very positive.
Yeah.
But okay, so we have a question from someone who wants to also be famously known as Anonymous.
Yes.
Hi Rachel, question for Pocket Mentor. How do I balance personal and work whilst at home. Any tips, as I tend to always go beyond my working hours?
Well, that's the importance of coming up with a plan. You got to have a routine. If you're working in a physical office, I mean, there's this given time when you got to go home. When you're at home now, there's a given time when you got to stop working. That doesn't mean that you extend the boundaries and then abuse the home life by doing work at home. That's why I'm saying that you gotta have an established set of time frame wherein you know, ito na, this is it. Now, this is where I get offline. This is where work stops, and you just have to have that structure as well. Kasi I'm sure you are a very responsible person, and you might get beyond what is an acceptable work, but you're gonna burn out. You're gonna be overwhelmed, and that's not gonna be good for you and
Yeah,
your family
yeah,
members as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And if you're in a leadership position, try your best to not message your team if it's on a Sunday,
oh yes, yes.
so that they also have time. Even I have struggled with that, so I try my best not to message them on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
Not unless it's an emergency, but
uh,
if you could, then maybe there are many ways like you can schedule emails so that
yeah,
they
that's so true.
automatically be sent.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, siya wala siyang choice. I talk to her all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, funny that you mentioned this. Labasan na tayo, nahugot. Uh, so we work together and we're family. Sometimes he sends me an email and then right after sending it to me, he
I get
opens
out
the
of my
door.
room and I said, "Did you get my email?"
Yeah, and I'm just like, you just sent it. It's funny, It's good because we have a good working relationship, and um, he really knows how to work with me and handle a millennial. So we have time for one last
My
question.
last question.
So, si Suzette, she clarified. Thanks for partially answering my question.
Yes.
Do you think an 8-hour webinar or online training is possible considering the attention span of our participants?
Oh, Suzette, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. The answer is no.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my client understands this. After this, I'm going to do one for my client, and they understand the with their experiences with other speakers through webinar. The longest time is 30 minutes. You capture the attention for 30 minutes. I think it all depends. I've got content and I try to make it a little bit more fun, and I have more visual materials that I can include, and I love answering questions. The truth is, some other speakers and trainers, they may not be very welcoming of questions, but this is the part I love the most, so that I can understand what your needs are. So as I said, it's not good. You can't do webinars on an 8 hour basis. The best you can do is cut it off. You do a 30 minute thing, which is long already,
Yeah.
and then you improvise and do something else.
Like
Yeah.
interactive activities.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I said that was the last question, but I think I want to take one more because this is very interesting, and I
Yes.
think a lot of parents with very young kids will understand and relate to this question.
Right.
So Jane Madrid asked,
Yes.
"My 5-year-old son keeps on asking me when will this virus stop? How can we explain the situation to them in a language they understand?"
Um, I the last time my kid was 5 years old.
Rami?
That's a long time ago. Now
Yep.
I have a 6 month old grandson.
Yeah.
One thing I know in my parenting talks that I deliver is you gotta communicate in a level that's understood by the kid. Uh, for example, if your 5 year old son talks to you about this virus thing, he's smart, he understands what virus is. And I would say that nobody knows as of now. The doctors are still trying to figure it out. But the truth is, COVID 19 is a new form of SARS. And There are scientists saying that it's going to be part of us forever. So, but you can't say that because we're not yet sure.
Mm.
So, what I would like you to say is that the scientists and the doctors are still trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, we'll pray. We'll pray that lesser people get afflicted by this. We'll pray that there's a vaccine, there's a cure and treatment, and we'll pray for those who are afflicted. And we'll also pray and be thankful that God has protected us, and you have to protect, I have to protect you, you have to protect me. And so I can assure you that that 5-year-old kid will understand at the level of his perception level. And you don't feel guilty that you won't be able to present all the data as Dr. Fauci in the US will give, but just speak and communicate in the level that he will understand.
Yeah. So there's a we have a question that's kind of funny. Maybe you can end this as an advice for everyone because I think this is also hashtag relatable
Okay.
by Stephen Herrera.
Yeah.
How do you solve anxiety equals overeating? Everyone here is overeating.
Well, the truth is, mindless munching, according to my friend, his name is Martin Lindstrom. Martin Lindstrom is a marketing guru, well respected, famous in Europe, not very famous here, but he written a lot of books. And he says mindless munching, eating a lot, is a typical normal response of human beings to anxiety and fear and worry.
Yeah.
That's why you have a term called comfort eating, right? And so, kaya kanina, I was saying that one person says, I gotta practice social distancing from my refrigerator. Well, I would like to suggest that you take the healthy route. Drink water instead.
Yep.
Sometimes we mistake thirst for hunger. And then when you munch, it produces dopamine in the mind that tries to counter worry and anxiety, which is not a very good thing. So occupy the mind with good things. Eat, make sure you eat healthy, stay away from, I don't know, but if you've noticed this, unhealthy food satisfy you for a while, but it makes you hungrier
Yes.
and you want more of it.
Yeah.
So when you take yourself some healthy food, it doesn't operate that way. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, actually, what's
Yeah.
nice with the event, with what happened is, since my sister and my brother-in-law moved in, we started eating healthier.
Yeah.
Because my brother-in-law cooks really good food
He
and
cooks
fresh food,
very.
so we
Yeah.
see we feel the difference.
We've actually lost weight.
Yeah.
I've lost weight. Yeah.
I question myself sometimes, but yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a bit stressed. So anyway,
Right. Yeah.
we're ending way beyond our normal session time.
And I gotta prep myself for the next one. This is for
Yes.
my client, and I want to thank you all for attending this one. And don't forget, next week, what
Next
time will it
week.
be?
So with that, our original time is 4 p.m. But if you guys feel that there's a much better time, then please message below. Also, in the future, if you think that there are topics that you'd want us to cover, then please just interact with our page, and we'll do our
Yes.
best to collate all of the data and then come out with a topic
Yeah.
that best suits you guys. So
And for all of you who have sent in questions, I want to thank you for taking the time to send in the questions. For those of you where we can't handle your questions, we apologize for that, and I hope
yes.
we can handle your questions the next time.
Also,
Yeah.
I really want to end this session by thanking the rest of the team.
Oh my, these
So,
guys, they're
yeah,
fantastic. These guys are making sure that
yes,
everything goes on without a glitch.
yes,
The only glitches are what you see
us.
now, kaming
Yeah,
dalawa.
yeah.
But
Kami
these
lang
guys
yung
are
walang
doing a
ano,
fantastic
structure. Wala
job.
kasi
Thank
tayong
you.
structure. Hindi tayo
Yeah,
sanay sa structure.
right.
But
Thank you.
these guys has been working so much for
Denise,
this session.
Greg,
Yeah,
Marlon.
ever since the beginning, they've
Yeah.
been doing their best to always keep on improving and trying to meet the needs of each and every one of you. So
They're the unsung heroes. They are our
yes.
frontliners. Let's make noise. Yeah, Denise. Yeah.
Okay, so we will end before we keep continuing until 5 p.m. So thank you again,
Thank you
and
guys.
please watch us next week.
Yeah, see you again next week. Thank you.